All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you had a wonderful weekend. Last week was absolutely insane with Jerome Powell, the earnings, Bank of Japan. There was so much going on, but this week we got earnings still. Over 150 companies on the S&P 500, Amazon, Apple, AMD, Uber, Merck, Pfizer, the list goes on. Then you got the non-farms this week, some ISM data, and then it is the end of the month. So we got a lot to talk about. I got the keys for you. I have a couple of earnings plays, a couple of options, and we closed out a couple of trades on Friday. And then I have the main theme of the week for you. So Chad, drop your thumbs up on the video. Make sure you're subscribed. And if you don't know, we are live Monday through Friday, 30 minutes before open, youtube.com/the stock market. Everything we do here that we recap on the watch list, it's done live, so we'll see you there. And today is Sunday, tomorrow is Monday. I need your help, okay? It's very important. This is the random account generator, and we started this years ago with $500, and it's all through these watch lists. You gotta post a random option trade in the comments right now. Keep it below $100. Post the strike price, expiration date, all that good stuff. And tomorrow morning, we are gonna do a random comment picker and select one. So Chad is doing decent. I mean, we had the Baba one last time. I mean, it's decent. Whereas like two plays we're up on, but come on, we need your help. But Chad, let's get into the week and what we are going to deal with. This is the main theme, but let me jump to the calendar. Like I said, you have all of the big earnings. I'll go over that calendar here in a second, but as far as data, there's only two big things. You're going to get PMIs, I believe, Tuesday and Thursday. You got ISM Services PMI on Thursday, and then Tuesday, you're going to get the ISM Manufacturing. You'll also get the jobs opening on Tuesday, which can have some effect, but as far as data is concerned, especially with what we saw last week. Remember, we are coming off of a lot of things and Powell, and this is one of the two non-farms until the next Powell that we will be getting. But Friday, non-farms data is going to be the biggest one, and believe it or not, it's expected to come in at 200,000, and I believe that's like one of the lowest numbers since like 2020, I believe. So it's fairly low, and there is a couple of scenarios. So I have something I'm going to share with you. There was a couple of analysts over the weekends who made comments on how all of this data will culminate, but that'll make sense once we get into the actual nature of it all. But Friday data, that's going to be the biggest. ISM, the PMIs, that will also have an effect, but realistically, we're looking for that data, and then good old earnings. So obviously Thursday, that's going to be the biggest day. That's where you're going to get Apple and Amazon after hours. But starting from Monday, literally tomorrow morning pre-market, you're getting companies like SoFi, On Semi, and even Symbiotic. We've seen a lot of these names move recently, so that gets you off to a decent start. Then even ANET after hours, Arista, that's going to have a lot of big implications for some of the cloud plays. And then Tuesday, you're opening up with Uber, Norwegian Cruise Lines, Pfizer, again, and just after even Altria, it just starts to get crazy from there. You hear from the travel names Thursday. You're also getting Airbnb, but I think even like Tuesday, it's not on here, but I think Marriott reports as well. So we are going to get a lot of activity. Last week, it was the banks, or the 2 weeks before that, it was like the banks. Then you worked your way into Tesla, and now a lot of the tech names. Amazon and Apple are going to close it off with a little bit consumer leaning, and now we're really going to start hearing from everybody else. So this will have a big effect, especially if the data, if it doesn't produce anything major, then all eyes will be on the earnings. So that's the big thing. And now finally, the major theme I want to talk about this week, it has to do with what I just had up here. It is coming down to the bond yield. So let me actually jump here. This came from Michael Hartnett of Bank of America. He put out this crazy analyst note talking about overshoots, talking about the GDP rally, the earnings, how things are playing out, and what he expects to happen. He was even talking about things running up and leading into the recession, and people thinking everything is good, and talking about a no landing right before a hard landing occurs. He is very bearish. He is from Bank of America, but he did lay out this scenario for this week, and you can see he's talking about non-farm payrolls average hourly earnings, unemployment rate, the ISM, and then he begins to talk about what the 10-year bond will do. So here's the hot scenario. If non-farms comes in above 250,000, average hourly earnings increase by 0.4, unemployment rates at 3.4, and then I think ISM, I think that means greater than 48. He's saying 10-year is going to go crazy. The Goldilocks scenario, 150 to 200,000, average hourly earnings don't go up too much, and everybody's happy. And then cold data would be a non-farms below 100,000, unemployment rate ticking up, and then ISM somehow dropping. That would be a summer surprise, and then the data U-turning. But do I want to highlight what he's saying and what he thinks? Kind of, but what I want to show you is that this week, just notice the relationship between non-farms, the average hourly earnings, the ISM, and now what people are saying for the 10-year. You don't have to predict the future. You may not agree or disagree, but what I'm trying to point out here is that this is all eyes on me like Mr. 10-year. If you know, you know. But right now, the 10-year's hanging out below 3.95. I believe the 2-year just hanging out below 5%. We've had a little bit of this back and forth with all of the yields. We're coming off of the Bank of Japan as well, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But however the earnings end up, the ISM and all of this data, and then ultimately the non-farms, people want to see here, are we going to start jumping the gun and getting ready, or are the yields going to start edging up, or do we kind of still keep holding in the range that the yields have been with ever since October, November, and then every other point leading up until now? So watch out for that. I think that's going to be the main theme. Do we finally get the break or not after we wrap up the earnings in the data? Can we justify 4% or higher 10-year, 5% or higher 2-year? We will find out. But final thing I'll mention, just take a look at the Japanese yen this week. It's kind of a hot take now, pretty much. Friday came about, the currency moved around like 1%, but now over the weekend, some people are saying pretty much a lot of the people who didn't think there would be a shift are saying, well, the article that was doubted the day before kind of like brought in the impact, and now a lot of people are thinking the yen might weaken this week. My take, I think we got unemployment and I think inflation data coming out of Japan as well, but I think the follow-through is now what we are going to be looking for. But I believe the play is a little bit lower than where we got it now, but I'm still going to be watching the Japanese yen with all of the data this week, and I'm hoping that we get more clarity. If not, you might watch the battle of the narratives continue. So I hope you're ready, but now let us get into the plays. So hopefully you're getting this week. It's going to be a lot of earnings. There will be a little bit of data. Then we wrap up July. Again, end of July is going to be on Monday. And then we enter into the final stretch. But we still are going to get PAL, and all of that data and all this stuff from last week applies. But now we got to talk about some of the earnings plays. The first one I'm going to be starting with is good old Airbnb. So I know I have, I had PayPal up there. But as far as Airbnb, if you guys remember, we bought those pre-earnings run-up calls. I don't know why those options weren't loading, but we grabbed these 190s. I believe they were around 40 or 30 cents, or I think 60 cents is what we got them at, but it was just under 100%. I sold out of them at 115. I sold out of all of those contracts, and now all I'm holding is a August 18th 130 put. I bought this one for $200, I think, so I believe I'm down 100 or 30% pretty much on it. So the calls only went straight up, puts went straight down. I made enough money on the calls to pay for this put, even if it goes to zero. But what I'm going to be looking for this week, there's going to be a lot of travel plays. I'm going to be looking for the double dip, or I'm just going to be riding my puts through to the earnings. So I want to show you the stock, but essentially, if you go look at the calls, it's the same story that we've been talking about. So it's either going to continue, or maybe that changes this week. But the last 9 or 12 days, Airbnb has only went straight up. The calls are the most expensive thing. They're up 100% from the last 2 weeks on the option chain, and all of the puts are down 30 to 40% after being down I think 50 to 90% on the last quarter. So I like this. However, I'm not going to force it, but I think with all of the travel, and if Airbnb does good, this one could be a very good play. But the fact is, the option chain is very skewed. Calls have a ton of premium. Puts still have no premium. Earnings are on Thursday. Let's see what happens. But that is play number 1. Then play number 2. This is going to be another earnings play, and I'm even going to tie this one in to Unity as well. But pretty much PayPal and Unity. And why I'm bringing these up is because both of these can move a lot. And if you remember the Teladoc play, if you go to these January contracts, you will notice that these chains go extremely deep. Now, Unity, I've noticed their spreads are a lot wider than PayPal. PayPal, they got 1, 2, 3 cent options that are way out of the money. Do I think these plays will hit? No. And actually, what I want to point out to you, are these like the Teladoc play? Kind of, but not really. The difference is, go look at PayPal, go look at Unity, go to these leaps. You'll notice the option chain runs deep, but lately with how the stock is moved, all of these options are holding and sustaining 100, 200, 300% premium since they've had this little run up here, but it's a pretty sizable difference. So why I'm saying to keep that in mind, if you remember the Teladocs, this is where we're at now, but even when we bought those plays, they were right there at the bottom. So the chains ran deep. It's a play that has squeeze potential, but one thing we've learned from Snapchat last week, and even though I may not be trading as many options, I want to point out to you guys, just be mindful of the premium. So I do think PayPal and Unity can move. If you guys remember QuantumScape on Friday, that had a big mover, and even then the contracts, it was anywhere from like 50% to 300% depending on the time, but there could be some movers depending on if we get through this week, the data, everything's smooth. You might get a lot more of those squeezes, but keep in mind the premium. We'll see what happens with the run-ups. I haven't had too much of luck with the bigger names on the run-ups, but you might get a lot of opportunities for the smaller names this week. So watch out for those plays. That is play number 2 and 2. And then finally, the final play, 3M and Johnson & Johnson. I think 3M recovered a little bit. It's crazy. They've gotten a lot of recovery, and there's been a lot of data on the types of staples that have been rotated in and out of last week. But Johnson & Johnson on Friday, there was news regarding their Texas two-step, the bankruptcy case. It did not play out well. 3M is often a sympathy considering what they have to deal with. So just watch out for that coming into this week, even any of the values. We'll see how that one plays out just in the element of earnings, rotation, data, what happens, how do people react, depending on what the 2-year and the 10-year do. So I hope you're ready, but that is your watch list, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure hydrate healthy, ready to go. Make sure post your watch list. Make sure we see you there in the morning. I need the armor on. I need the helmet shining. And I need you to remember, your interest determines the subject. The teacher of life does not determine the lesson. The student does. So your interest will determine whatever you're about to learn next, baby. So I hope you're ready for it. I hope you're staying in the game. And I hope your interest leads you to a commitment that leads to a fruitful journey, my friend. So get ready. We have a lot of excitement. Oh yeah, and I closed out at like JD, and I think JD and another play. But oh yeah, AMD over the weekend. That was it. But chat, it's gonna be exciting. We have too many plays. Post earnings, pre earnings. It's all gonna be there. You still got data. The long term will take care of you. It's about to be a new month. But I love you, Chad. So God bless you. Thank you again. Drink that water. Stay hydrated, healthy. Get a good night's rest. And that's it. It's game time. It's not even awkward. This shirt, it can make people awkward. Actually, I'll make it awkward. Here, I'm going to stand up. I'm going to just tell, I didn't mean to do this. I just woke up and I put on sweatpants and then I put on this shirt here. I like it. It's a comfy shirt. But I look like I work for McDonald's, bro. I'm wearing these yellow ass sweatpants. You see what I'm saying, bro? Yeah, bro. It's bad. It's bad. So that's the awkwardness for the day. So I love you. God, okay, I'm gonna leave now. Is that cool? Okay, whore.